Well, victims and villains. My name is Josh. Today we are getting just a little chaotic. This is Primate. Primate is essentially the formula of a slasher when you bring in a rabbit chimpanzee that faces off against a group of teenagers. Listen, I am of the opinion that this movie should not work nearly as well as it does, but it works in so many ways, from its practicality to its technical effects, and I'm very excited to be talking about this. I feel like the things that I'm going to be praising this film more than over anything else are going to be its technical. Not only from a narrative perspective is this one of the tightest stories that I've seen in horror in quite a while. The pacing of this is just expert level. It's top tier. It's so tight. It draws you in from the very first opening frame, the way that it really kind of spits you out into this utter abyss of chaos and dread right from its opening frame. I absolutely loved the way this movie kind of keeps you guessing until the credits roll. But even more than that, this movie has an immaculate use of shadows and reflections. There are so many moments within this where the shadows on Ben, our antagonist, really does come across as this larger than life, terrifying, hulking figure just because of the way scenes are lit within this film. Not to mention the way that they also use reflections, whether that is of phones or on car windows or just windows in general. I just think that the use of reflections here is really genius and really adds to the intensity of the story. Really, how it uses these technical aspects of the film to really heighten its tension and really kind of has this sustainability as it creates this atmosphere of dread almost throughout 80% of the movie. The fact that this movie is a single location setting only adds to that formula all that more, and really draws you to the edge of your seat and doesn't actually let go or your breath until the credits roll. For as big of a fan as I am when it comes to the slasher subgenre, I really can't ever find myself praising the performances of its cast. Oftentimes they are very one-dimensional, very one-note, or very wooden, or they're just very written, very flat. And Primate unfortunately suffers from that. Now, while I think the cast is fine, these give very passable performances, there's nothing that is going to really stick with you after this film ends, with the exception of our Ben actor here. Miguel Torres Umba delivers a truly breakout performance. I mean, his performance is menacing, it's terrifying, and it's just downright creepy. The way that they translated his performance from mocap into the use of Ben's final form is haunting, to say the least. And I know it's only January, but I could definitely see Umbra's performance definitely being one of my favorite performances of the year in the terms of the conversation of horror. What good is a slasher adjacent movie if it doesn't have good gags within it? Primate does not hold back one bit, from the opening frames, literally having someone have their face ripped clean off, to jaws being ripped off, and just faces literally being beaten in. This movie has some of the most gruesome deaths that I have come across from a major studio release in quite a while in terms of the horror genre. I think that really adds to the atmosphere of not only the dread here, but also the fun of this movie. Like, this movie is very anxiety inducing, but at the end of the day, it's also very fun. And it's also a fun time to be had at the movies and to experience with an audience. Also, just a shout out to Adrian Johnston's masterful score here, which really elevates not only the gags that I'm talking about, but also the tension woven throughout the course of this film. This movie, even being a huge fan of films like this, really does surprise me in terms of how gory this movie is, how bloody it is, and how genuinely scary this movie is. Because for me personally, the movies that really tend to get under my skin are those that could have real world implications. And this definitely seemed like it could not be that far fetched to happen. And had I been in the situation of any of these characters, I genuinely would have felt the fear that these characters feel. With that said, I'm ready to run this one through our Rorschach rating scale. I'm going to go ahead and give Primate a 4 out of 5. Overall, I think this is a great start to the new year. This is a solid entry into the horror film. Not only does it use its single location to its advantage, but it's also elevated thanks to its score from Adrian Johnston, its use of shadows and reflections, and its masterful breakout performance from Miguel Torres Umba, who brings our antagonist Ben to life. If you guys have seen Primate, what did you guys think? Comment below and let me know. But let's talk about mental health, shall we? If you guys are new to our content here at Victims and Villains, mental health moments where we take a theme of mental health out of the film which we're reviewing, talk about it for a few moments in the hopes to deconstruct the stigma surrounding mental health. In a lot of ways, Primate feels like the cold opening from Nope, as it just is expanded into a 90-minute story. And so much of the themes of Nope, as well as here in Primate, really revolve around the idea and the concepts of things that are outside of our control, and ultimately how they have mental health implications and consequences when things don't go according to, quote unquote, the plan. I'll be really honest and really vulnerable with you guys. I am a planner through and through. Over the last 2 years, Victims and Villains has been blessed to do over 75 shows, over 150 podcasts, and nearly over 200 reviews, and cover a multitude of film festivals, tour with bands, etc. And that doesn't happen without planning and a lot of work. And I'm not saying that to kind of brag on myself or to boast, just kind of telling you, again, I'm a planner. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. But over the last year, I've really genuinely learned that sometimes it needs to allow life to happen. One of the things that the last year has taught me is to let go. And some of the processes of how just letting go and really ultimately kind of understanding that there are larger forces at play here. And whether you believe in God or you believe in the universe or any number of other deities, there does come a time where you just kind of need to let life exist and be life, and just view it as go along for the ride. Sometimes what you ultimately end up finding is that going along for the ride actually is going to be better for your mental health than the planning process will be. Although the movie Primate genuinely deals with a lot of themes about grief, it also deals with the fact that you can't plan for everything. You can't have a contingency plan for everything. Although both Primate and Nope deal with these larger than life concepts about life not necessarily going the way that we can, or trying to play God or control the circumstances, sometimes it's going to do wonders for your mental health to just let go and let things play out the way that nature intends them to be. Over the last year, I've had one of the worst years of my life, but it's also granted me these opportunities to really grow. And I'm happier now than I have been in years. A lot of it is because I just kind of let go and didn't necessarily stop to create things to go in my way and to go along. Because what ultimately ends up happening is, not only when you force things to go your way, does it have this narcissistic side that can be created within you, but also at the same time you miss out on some of life's most genuine moments, which also means that you miss out on the opportunities of community, vital moments, and genuinely happy moments that are made in the moment. That's not to say that planning moments or planning things out can't be a good benefit for your mental health and can't create those own. But sometimes we get so focused on the plans that we actually miss out on the very things that are in front of us. And sometimes those things can create things like regret, depression, and suicidal ideation as well. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicide, addiction, self-harm, or depression, please click the link in our show notes below to check out our mental health resource library. Primate is now playing in theaters everywhere from Paramount Pictures. Kind of shocked by that Paramount released a movie like this, but I'm here for it. Click the links in the show notes below to check out local movie showtimes near you, as well as more movie reviews like this, podcasts on our podcast network, links to our social media, our mental health resource library one more time, and that follow button. So until next time, remember to keep it classy and go bananas.